Hello, everybody. Melanie here from Mel's Inky Fingers. Happy Friday, and thanks for joining me. So I was having a little trouble going live in the right direction, so I'm glad I finally was able to get it to work. I know that some people are having a lot of trouble going live in the horizontal view, so it kept wanting to flip me. So yay, it looks like we're good. So happy Friday, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. Another week is behind us and another weekend we have to look forward to. I'm just going to make sure I'm live in the right place and that you can hear me. When you jump on, say hello and let me know you're here. It's always nice to know that I'm in the right spot and that everyone who is joining can hear. So hello and happy Friday. So if you are watching me on Facebook, say hello and let me know you're here. And if you're watching me over on YouTube in the recording, if you enjoy today's video, please follow my channel and let me know that you like it by giving me a thumbs up. That helps a lot. So even if you're unable to make a comment, if you can give me a thumbs up and follow my channel, that would be amazing. Thank you. And if you're watching over on Facebook, hop on over to YouTube and find my channel over there. It's Mels Inky Fingers, and give me a follow, and you can catch replays and other videos over on my YouTube channel. So today we are going to work with some Saleabration items that I had not yet jumped in with, and they are just adorable. That's the Jungle Pals stamp set with the coordinating dies, and both of these items are free until the end of the month during Saleabration. So as many of you know, Saleabration is a promotion that Stampin' Up! Runs each year, and you can get an unlimited number of free items. Yes, I did say unlimited and free in the same sentence. Who doesn't love free things? You can get these items free when you shop with me in my online store. All you have to do is click on the blue shop button at the top up here in the top corner of my page here, and it will take you to my online store where you can browse all of the Stampin' Up's products, including products from the mini catalog, that is the January to April mini catalog, and our current annual catalog. If you have paper copies, then you can shop your paper copies, and anything that you would like, you're welcome to snag there, or you can just shop online. Both the catalogs are available online. So when you jump on, say hello. Hi, Joan. Welcome, and thanks for joining. It's fun to have you here. So this is what we're going to make today. Isn't this stamp and die bundle just adorable? Two very different cards using the same stamp and die bundle, which is our Jungle Pals from Saleabration. Now, this stamp set does not include any sentiments, which I love because it gives you the opportunity to pull in any sentiments you may have in your stash. This is heartfelt hellos. I absolutely love this. I've used it a ton, and I love that it has a Mother's Day and a stamp for Dad all in one set. And this is also a free Saleabration item. Can you believe that? All three of these are free. So I thought before we started, we would take a little stroll back a few weeks and look at some of the projects that we've made during Saleabration. Now, Saleabration ends at the end of the month. So believe it or not, there's not quite 2 weeks, a week and a half left, and all these items will go away. You won't be able to get any of these anymore. They are exclusive to the Saleabration promotion. So let's take a look at some of the really cute things in this stamp set. So we have worked with Watercolor Melon, and I featured this adorable project on my blog. If you follow me on my blog at Mels Inky Fingers, I have this project featured as well as the instructions to make this. It's so very cute. And the latest tons of adorable pizza cards using this with this as pizza crust and this as your pizza topping to make super cute cards with pizzas. And we do have a pizza set in the annual catalog that it coordinates perfectly with for some adorable sentiments. So that's watercolor melon. We have worked with the adorable Sunny Days designer series paper, and this is really versatile because it covers just fruit and sunshine and some butterflies, clouds that coordinate with a stamp set. We've got a beautiful plaid, cherries. I'm going to show you a couple of projects I made with this. Here's some sunshine and rainbows. So that's a really, really cute pack of paper. And here are a couple of projects. So last week we made this sprinkled with love card. Isn't that cute? With the coordinating bundle. And I believe the first week of Saleabration, we made a frozen cola card with the adorable cherry paper. So a frozen cherry Coke. Very cute. Then we have Flight and Airy, and I'm not sure where my Flight and Airy projects went. I know I made some. I was looking for them. I'm not sure where they wound up. They're here somewhere. I may have sent them off to someone, honestly. But this paper is gorgeous. You have some very soft florals, and you have some solid colors, some watercolor styling to the papers. And if you like birds, you're going to love this paper. It's so pretty. And I did combine Flight and Airy with the Softly Sophisticated stamp and embossing folder bundle, which is one of your free Saleabration items. So we can take a look at those. So this was also towards the beginning of Saleabration. We made these pretty cards, and this combines that stamp and embossing folder bundle with the Flight and Airy paper. But I know I had some other projects made with that, and I think I gifted them. Then we have the Cradled in Love stamp set. So very cute for our little babies that come into our lives. And then we have the softly stippled paper. I know I made a lot of projects with this too. Here's one of them. Do you remember when I showed you that amazing background using inks and this glass mat, which is also a Saleabration item? So we use the softly stippled designer series paper for the background on this card. And this paper coordinates with a beautiful bundle in the catalog called Stippled Roses. I was going to use that today and then went with the jungles instead. But you have some stippled style coloring of floral images as well as some photorealistic background patterns. I just really like the neutrality that's in this for bringing it into lots of projects. So very pretty paper. And then the most adorned paper, we use this to create some Valentine projects, but this paper you could use for so much more between the floral images, and you can always use hearts. So not all of this is Valentine's. You can color this. This would make a really beautiful tartan plaid. If you brought in some blues and greens, you could make a really beautiful card. And then, of course, this swirly pattern all year. It's timeless. This is timeless. This is timeless. So there's a lot of benefit from this. And here are a couple of projects that I made using that paper. So these were a couple of projects we made for Valentine's Day. I added it in the background here. With the, this bundle is called the Sending Love Bundle. And do you remember when I said I had a really cute idea using this little mailbox when we made this card? So this card uses the most adorned paper here, but I put a little sweet tart candy treat inside the mailbox. And this was actually my husband's Valentine. So it was really cute to slide the little candy treat in there. He hasn't eaten it yet, so I swiped it. I'm like, perfect. I'm going to show that today. He's probably upstairs wondering where his candy went right now because he's eating lunch. Sorry, honey, it's coming. Then we have the heartfelt hellos. I've used that on many cards. You've seen those. We're going to use it again today. And then the trusty Toolbox Designer Series paper. This just could not be any cuter with all the tools. Some of the dies from the Trusty Tools bundle from the January to April mini catalog actually die cut the images in this. These nice big images. You can use your dies to cut them out, making creating so easy. So this stamp and die bundle is absolutely adorable, and you can get the paper totally free. So here's the bundle that it coordinates with. It is so cute, just so cute. So the bundle is not free, but when you purchase the bundle, you earn the paper free if that's what you like. And that brings us to today's projects. So here's the Jungle Pal stamp set and the coordinating dies. Each of these items can be free when you shop, and you can see the adorable projects that they made here. Here is the softly stippled and the detailed dogwood stamp sets. Or I'm sorry, softly sophisticated. And then last but not least is this incredible mat, glass mat. You've seen me use it and do something cool on it every single week since it's been available. It comes with this silicone mat and this wiping cloth that's just so awesome for pulling adhesive or ink or whatever you may have lying around on your mat. I've loved this. Now this is a free bonus. If you choose to join my Stampin' Up! Team by the end of the month, you get a bonus with your starter kit. And there's like nothing to lose by doing this because there's, you do with it what you want. You can be as creative and do what I do and teach classes, or you can just simply enjoy discounted shopping any day of the week, any time of the day, which is what so many do, and it's just lovely. Plus you get access to tons of training, you get access to my team, you get access to early sneak peeks and availability of product with pre-orders from Stampin' Up. It's just a ton of fun. And the starter kit is only $99 plus tax, and you get to choose $125 of anything you want, anything. There's no restrictions on that. And during the month of February, you get a bonus. The bonus is you can choose to add this glass mat that comes with this silicone mat and the cloth free. It's a $60 value, or you can choose an additional $30 in product. So you actually get $155 for only $99 plus tax. And the best part, Stampin' Up! Ships it to you free. Like, does it get any better? No, I'll answer that for you. It does not. So there is nothing to lose if you join my team and get the starter kit and you shop a little bit and then decide that it's no longer something that interests you. You just simply stop shopping and and then it's like a membership. It just expires. So if you have any questions, please reach out. So hi, Janet, welcome. I'm glad you're here. So let's take a peek at today's projects. So we're going to use the Saleabration Jungle Pal stamp set and die set with the heartfelt hellos for our sentiments today. And we're going to start by making this card. I love the bright pops of color with that adorable little bird, the little toucan on the white background, and I've just added some texture to it. So let's look at what we're going to use to make today's projects now that I've created a disaster by pulling in all kinds of fun things here. So let me just take a minute and straighten myself out so that I can pull what I need to for you. All right, so for today's card, for this card, we're going to use lots of white with pops of color. So we have a thick basic white card base, and this is a standard card base, cut 4 1/4 wide by 11 inches, and it's scored at 5.5. Then we're going to stamp on our front layer, and this is cut 3 3/4 by 5. This is regular basic white. I've cut a label, and I just realized I didn't bring a scrap piece for my bird. That's unfortunate. All right, let's see. Maybe I can make it work here. So I've pre-cut a label. This is from the Everyday Details die set from the January-April mini catalog. You've seen me use these quite a bit. They come in both rectangles and circles. And when you die cut them, you have this really amazing kind of eyelet edging on it. So we're going to use that. And then I have a little scrap for my sentiment. What I don't have is a piece to stamp my bird. So this is, I'm hoping maybe this scrap that was just laying here might be big enough for the bird. So we're going to run with it. All right. So to start with, let's get our background created. So I'm going to take the Love You More stamp from the Heartfelt Hellos, or if you have a different sentiment that you would like to use at home, that would be just fine. The Hello sentiment would also be really cute to do this with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it. We're going to use 3 inks today. We're going to use Tahitian Tide, which is actually retiring soon. If you're loving this color and any of the in colors from this color family, I wouldn't wait too much longer to grab them because they are retiring. And then we're going to use Blueberry Bushel, and we're going to stamp our bird in our memento. Then we're going to color with a variety of blends. So you can bring in whatever Stampin' blends you want. I just grabbed a variety of blues and then some little bright colors that I wanted in my toucan. For embellishments, I used the Azure Afternoon ribbon from the Ribbon Trio. This comes with Bubble Bath and Lemon Lolly with the Azure Afternoon, so 3 spools in 1 pack. But you could also use the Tahitian Tide twine from the In Color twine pack. So the alternative I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull in this twine instead of the ribbon. And then I embellished with these gems. These are the opaque faceted gems. These are a free Saleabration item. So you don't have to choose paper or stamps or dies. You can choose these really cool gems. So let's get started on our background. We're going to pull in our sentiment with our Tahitian Tide, and I'm going to ink just part of the stamp. Now, if you wanted to, you could just cut this right apart. I know. I do that a lot. It's really easy and okay to do. I just take a pair of scissors and I just come in like this and I just cut my stamp right apart. And it's really okay. It does not affect how they work. And if you want it together, you just simply put them together on your block like this and you would never know. But it does make it easier if you want to stamp it separately to cut your stamps apart. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to randomly stamp love all over my background. Now, if you wanted to, you could do stamp it twice and get some second generation stamping in there, which is kind of a fun look. And let's just do this. So we've created a little cluster of ink using the love on our stamp. And by stamping it 2 times for every inking, you get some color variation, which is always a nice look. And I'll just wipe that off easily there with my little cloth. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to adhere it to my card base with some dimensionals. So let's just throw a couple of these on the back. So here is my card base. Oh, actually, you know what? I didn't want to put these on yet because what I wanted to do is put this through I wanted to emboss this to add texture to it. So I'm just going to pull these off. Oops. I was ahead of myself. So I don't want any adhesive left on here because it will get all stuck in my embossing folder. So I'll just pull these off. They do come off pretty easily if you do it right away. So I'm going to use the Painted Texture 3D embossing folder. I use this embossing folder probably the most out of everything I have. And the reason why I like it so much is it adds texture, but not a distinct pattern, which will distract you from anything else on your card. So I use it a ton. I love the texture that it provides. I'm just going to do my stamping and then put this layer in here. And then I will run it through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. Hi, Melissa, welcome. And that's what it winds up looking like. Isn't that a neat look? It just adds nice texture to your background. And I'll just put these back on. Now we can add this to our card front. So let's bring this back in and we can center this. And now we have our card base ready to go. All right. So next up, let's work on our little bird and see if this piece of paper, this scrap that I found, is big enough. So I'm going to use the toucan from this Jungle Pals stamp set. I absolutely love him. I'm going to keep it really simple by keeping it white and make him the little pop of color on my card. I'm just going to stamp it in that Memento black ink and give it just a second to dry. While it's drying, I'll actually add my background. But before I do that, I do want to splatter it with some Wink of Stella. So I love when I have a simple background, I really like just adding some extra pops of color and interest to my background. So I'm just going to take my Wink of Stella and pick up this Blueberry Bushel ink that I just smushed right on my glass mat. I just love being able to do this. And I'm just flicking this, and it's just putting some extra color on my background. Now to clean this, you can just kind of rub it all off like that, or just rub it right on your Simply Chamois and you're ready to go again. And then I'm just going to clean this up by wiping it with my cloth. That's how easy it is to clean up ink. And then you're just ready to keep crafting. It just takes no time at all. I've used this mat so much for just bringing ink right into my workspace. All right, so now I'll put a couple of dimensionals on the back of this and add this to my card front. And you do want to give those splatters just a couple minutes to dry, because the glitter paint, the glitter pen, that Wink of Stella, it's not like it's classic ink that will immediately soak into your project. So it will take a little minute. So I'm just giving that a little offset like that. All right. All right. So now he should be dry. So let's bring in some colorful Stampin' Blends markers. And again, you could use whatever colors you would like. I pulled in Sweet Sorbet Pumpkin Pie and Daffodil Delight. And these are the darks of all these because I want that intense color. Then for blue, I pulled in Tahitian Tide to match my stamping. And I pulled in Azure Afternoon, and I pulled in blueberry bushel. So you can choose whichever colors that you want out of these. So I'm going to use the light blueberry bushel, and I'm going to color him. And I'm going to color all of the outer part of him other than his tail. I am going to add color to his tail. And you could even add color to his little head feathers there too if you want. And I'm not doing fancy shading or anything. I'm just coloring them. So now for the tail, I'm going to start with, let's start with some yellow. And then a little bit of orange, and I'm going to overlap the colors. So you will get a whole new color when you overlap. And then I'll do my sweet sorbet on the tips here. And again, I'm just overlapping. And I'm just going to come back over so that there isn't a line there. You just want to add a little bit more marker so that those colors just blend. And then we can come back with our blue. And I'm just going to do a little overlap here. It's going to create a little tiny bit of green onto that yellow. And then I'm going to leave that tail alone. Now for the middle part of his body, I want that to be a little bit lighter. So I can choose either the light azure afternoon. So let's see what color that is. That's kind of a nice color. Or the light Tahitian tide. I don't remember which one I used. Honestly, I think I may have used Tahitian tide. So this is a little bit lighter. You can see them together. This color is definitely lighter. So let's add this in. It's easy to come in with Stampin' Blends and make something darker. But once the darker color is down, it's hard. Like you can't really make it lighter. So there we go. All right, so there's his body. Now let's come in and start on the beak. So I want this yellow inside his mouth. And I also want the tip of his beak to be yellow. So this is my dark Daffodil Delight. And again, I'm not doing shading or anything fancy. I'm just getting the color on there. Then I'm going to use my dark Pumpkin Pie in the center here. Actually, maybe I want red there. I want red there. I'm going to bring the orange here. And then I'll come in with my sorbet and do the center section. Probably doesn't matter. I mean, you can do color wherever you would like. But there he is. Isn't he adorable and just so easy? Let me wipe up this blue before I get it where I don't want it. So even your alcohol markers clean off this mat. So nice. Sorry for making it jiggly. So here we are. So here is our bird. What do you think of him? Isn't he cute? So now I will use these Jungle Pals dies, and there's an open die that cuts out this stamped image. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to die cut little Mr. Toucan. All right, so here he is. Let's see how he turned out. It's so cute. There he is. Is he not the cutest? I love him. I love the colors. He's so cute. All right. So now we're going to put him So we can put them here, up here. We can put them, before we decide, let's work on our sentiment. So now I'm going to use the second part of the Love You More stamp that I've cut apart. And I'm going to use the darker blueberry bushel, and I'm going to ink that up and make a little sentiment to add to the front of my card. So let's trim this down. You could freehand this or use your trimmer, whatever you prefer. It's definitely easy enough to do with scissors if you have scissors, and it's a bit crooked, so I'm just going to use my trimmer as an opportunity to straighten it. So there you go. Isn't that adorable? I love little words on cards. I just like the little extra it gives. And then, so we use the Azure Afternoon ribbon on the one card. So I thought I would give you a look at using the Tahitian Tide in color twine that's also available. And you can decide if you like the ribbon or the twine more. So the ribbon will definitely give us a bigger pop of color. Whoops, I was trying to get my finger in there. So let's trim this down. And we can decide where we want to put all these things. I think I kind of like it like that. We can actually put our, so let's do that. All right, so let's put dimensionals on our little toucan. And you could make this little toucan whatever color you wanted. I just really like the bright colors of the blue. All right, and then I'm going to add dimensionals to, I want that twine to stay in the center, so I'm going to add dimensionals to the end and put some Stamp and Seal in the middle where the knot to that little bow I made out of twine will be. And then we're going to put this right here like that. So the knot is in the center between the two dimensionals, and it will hold it right in place there. Okay, now I actually want this down there though. That looks better. So now to finish it off, let's bring in some of our opaque gems, which again is one of our Sale-A-Bration items. And we have these pool party gems here that we can sprinkle. Now, if you're thinking, I don't know that they're blue enough for me, you can come in with your Stampin' Blends and you can color these and just brighten them up just a little bit. And now this is alcohol, so just give this a second to dry, okay? And that'll dry, and you can see the color variation that you can get just by adding a little bit of your Stampin' Blends to them. And you can tell when they're dry, but that alcohol has to evaporate off. And then when it does, the color will be permanent on here. So let's just very carefully and hope we don't drop them. Let's add them to our card. There we go. How cute is that? So which one do you prefer? Do you like the bigger pop of color from the Azure Afternoon ribbon, or do you like the finer detail that you get from the baker's twine? What do you think? Do you have a preference? You can also see the difference between adding the second generation stamping in the background, and this one I just did the direct stamp. So tell me what you think. Which one? Which one do you prefer? Ooh, Melissa likes the twine. It does keep that white, clean look. Oh, hi, Brenda. Thank you. It's nice to have you hopping on. So twine and azure afternoon ribbon. All right, so let's move on to our second project. So our second project, I really pulled in the dies and did a lot of detail using these adorable Jungle Pals dies. Now, this is a big die set. There are a lot of dies in here, and you have both accent dies and you have open dies. And open dies are these dies here that cut out your stamped image. So you have an open die for each of your stamps. So there are 5 little critters, and you have all 5. Oh, sorry. Yep, you do a gator. So you have is this a lemur? Does anyone know what that is? Tell me what that is. So you have the sloth, you have your gator, and the toucan, of course, we just used, and then you have this really cute tiger. Then you have all of these really amazing accent dies that coordinate so beautifully so that you can build a little scene. You have the grass, and you have leaves. You have this tree, which I did not add the tree, but it adds this amazing wood grain detail to it, and a vine. It's so cute. So I kept my project pretty simple in terms of the dies I added. I used 2, and I know you may be saying, simple, what is she talking about? There's all these layers. But I used the grass, and I used this big tropical leaf, and I just die cut several of them and added them. Now, for this project, I used garden green. So we have a 5.5 by 8.5 card base scored at 4 1/4. So it's our standard card base. All right. And then I brought in I think this is the Fern 3D embossing folder. Let's double check so I don't give you the wrong information. So this is in the annual catalog. Here it is. And yep, it's called the Fern. Here it is, Fern 3D embossing folder. It's on page 168. It's down here in the corner. I thought it was just a perfect complement to this bundle. So I took a piece of garden green cardstock, cut 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I just ran it through the die cutting machine to emboss it. And look at the cool detail. And then we're just going to add that on the back for the backdrop for all of our leaves and grass and animals that we're going to add. So let's just put that in place so it's ready to roll. And it is directional a little bit, so make sure that your ferns are facing in the direction that you want them. Okay, so here's our card base. Then we will want a piece of basic white, and this is thick basic white because we're going to make a couple of animals and color them with our Stampin' Blends, and whatever paper you prefer. Some people like regular basic white. I prefer thick. Your choice. And then you're just going to want some scraps of garden green. So these were just some scraps I had, and I took these 2 dies and I ran them through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and believe it or not, it die cuts 2 layers at a time really quickly. So you can be efficient with this. You can put your leaf in your grass and run it through, and you can be cutting 2 of each at once. And I just cut 6 or so of each, the grass and the leaves, so that you didn't have to wait for me to do that. I did that for you ahead of time so that we were kind of ahead of the game. So here's my leaves and here's my grass, and we're just going to build our scene with that. So before we do that, let's work on our animals. So we used 2 animals on this card. I used the tiger and I used the little sloth. And this would be really cute. So on the card, I had the sloth hanging from the little sentiment, but it would also be really cute if you put this little guy kind of standing on top of the sentiment. So you could do whichever one you prefer. I'll stick with Mr. Sloth. So I'm going to pull in my Memento black ink, and I'm going to stamp my 2 animals before coloring them. I'm just going to ink this up really good. And when I use Memento Black, I really like putting ink to stamp as opposed to stamping the stamp on the pad like I usually do, because I feel like I can really get nice coverage. And then I just give it an extra couple of seconds to really let that ink transfer so that I get a nice, good black image. And it helps to keep this pad a little on the juicy side. You don't want it too juicy, but it does help to keep it on the juicy side because that does help ensure you get a really nice black image. Now this guy is just a little outline, so I'm just going to make sure that he's inked up everywhere before stamping him. All right, so now let's pull in some Stampin' Blends. So we can do our sloth first. And for the sloth, I pulled in Crumb Cake for his face, and then I colored him with Pecan Pie Stampin' Blends. And then I really love this dark S100 Stampin' Blends marker. And let me show you where you find those because they're easy to miss in the catalog. So Stampin' Up! Has skin tone blends, and they come in 2 packs in the catalog, and I love using these for adding brown tone to my projects. So I'm looking for them here. So here are the regular Stampin' Blends. So we have the bronze and ivory here, but if you flip, let me find them. I think they're this. No, I think they're this way with our accessories. Nope. I'll find them, I promise. Here they are. So if you flip to page 136, there are these natural tone Stampin' Blends listed here, and they come in a 2-pack. It's light, medium, medium, deep, and deep. And they're your skin tones. They're shown here, but I've also made this little graphic here so that you can see them next to each other. And here is the Stampin' 100. So I probably use the Stampin' 100 and 200, which is your deep pack, the most when I'm coloring animals. I just love the little extra pop of deep color that you can get for shadowing or for adding accents by using these skin tones. So let's start with his face. His little face here. And I may have even used 200 on him, honestly. This might be a little darker than I originally went with. So this is my light pecan pie. I'm just going to come in and color the rest of the sloth. I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm just getting color on him. Now this glass mat is really great for coloring with your Stampin' Blends because you don't have to worry about the color soaking through onto your work surface. So if you've worked with Stampin' Blends before, you know that the color bleeds through your paper. Yes, you want it to do that because that's what allows your color to blend. If it didn't bleed through the paper, it would leave streaks, just like when you use regular non-alcohol markers, how you get those little marker streaks. You don't want that, right, on your images. So what allows that is the fact that the marker soaks into the paper and keeps the paper a little bit wet so that the color can continue to blend and move until the marker is dry. So maybe I didn't use that. Oh yeah, I did. I used it right down here on the bottom. So I'm just adding that in for a little bit of extra depth. And then when I do that, I like to come in with my bullet tip and just kind of go over the edge to soften that. And then I use my brush tip to just kind of help blend in the color. And then I'll let this dry. I'm going to add in a little pop of color here for depth. All right, and that's my sloth. All right, so nothing too crazy on him. So now let's turn our attention to the tiger. So for the tiger, I used my pumpkin pie and my Cajun craze and wild wheat. And those were the main colors I put on the tiger. And then I used the Flirty Flamingo for his nose and his ears. And I'm doing this first so I don't get carried away and color over those two little spots. You could give him a pink belly too if you wanted. So now I'm going to come in with my dark pumpkin pie. And I'm just going to start his face. Just going to get around his ears and the top of his head. And then I'm going to take my Cajun craze and I'm going to start adding a little bit of deep color in between his black stripes. So I'm just going to do this. And there's no precision to this. I'm just getting some color in between all of these. I'm ultimately going to come in and blend them out. But it'll give us some good shadowing and depth. So anywhere where the artist has given us details, I consider that like my cheat marks, meaning that's where I come in and add my color. And then I'm going to come in with my wild wheat on his belly. And then this is my light pumpkin pie. Actually, first let me come in with my dark pumpkin pie. And I'm going to add just a little more to where his stripes are. And this is just going to help blend that in and give you a transition. And now I'll come in with my light pumpkin pie and I'm going to color all over. So I'll finish blending over his tail. And his leg here. I did want to add a little bit of shadowing here, so actually I maybe should have done this. So I'll come up here by his face and make sure I don't color over his eyes or nose, which is the first time I got carried away coloring him, and I colored right over his eyes, right over his nose. So now I'll flip over to my marker tip and brush tip and just add in the rest of his color. And I'm going right over the top of that belly. And there's our little tiger. So what do you think? He's not too hard to do, is he? Okay, so now I'm going to pull in my 2 open dies and die cut him, and then our card will come together quickly. So let me bring these over to my die cutting machine. And now we have these super adorable little animals to add to our projects. And you could just sit down and even make a bunch of these little animals, and then you could come back and add them to your projects when you needed them. So you could make a coloring day of it, add your color, and then... So now I'm going to add my die cut pieces here. I'm going to add a couple across the top, a couple across the bottom. You could flip them over if you wanted to. And I'm going to tell you about a little trick for adding lots of pieces once you get your die cut pieces added onto a project. He's going to be up here, so I'll set him aside. Once you decide where you want all these, you can just start adhering them in place, and you'll want some dimensionals on some of them. But see how nice it is to just have several of them already cut, and then it just becomes really easy to kind of pop them in place. So I think that's kind of how I'm going to have the card look. And now my sentiment is going to be there, and we'll have to stamp and die cut the sentiment from this piece here when we're ready. All right, now when you have several pieces on a project like this, I like to take a piece of press and seal, which is something that you use in your kitchen, and just put it over the top, and then you can flip it over and add your adhesive and stick stuff down. But for this one, I'm going to be mixing it up because I'm going to want some pieces adhered right down. I'm going to want some pieces with dimensionals, and I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to fold some of these leaves so that my card has lots of dimension. And I'll add a little bit of Tombow, and I'm just going to kind of take it piece by piece and kind of build this up until I get it looking exactly how I want it. Now I love using the edges of my dimensional backing for these little strips that you sometimes want on die cuts. And then you could add a little dimensional down here to keep that popped up. And you can slide these leaves right under these grass tips too. And I think taking a little extra time to curl your die cuts can make a big difference because it really will add a lot of dimension to your card. Do you do this? Do you take your bone folder and curl your pieces. You can even take this little leaf and just kind of roll it up on itself, because sometimes the leaves are curling like that. So I'll add that there, and then I'm going to put a little tiny dimensional on the tip of this leaf. And I'll slide that one right underneath like that. All right, so there's the top, so it doesn't take too long. So now let's focus our attention on the bottom. So our little tiger is kind of prowling through the grass. So we're going to want some flat and some popped up. So we'll put the flat piece kind of behind where he's going to be standing. And then we'll pop up piece next to him. And once you have all these pieces die cut, and again, it was fast to die cut because I die cut 2 at a time, this really does come together pretty quickly. So let's add a couple of leaves over here. Kind of curl up that tip again. I like curling up the tips of those leaves. That one can kind of be here. We'll put this one on some dimensionals. Oops, I didn't curl this. All right, so now we'll get our tiger tucked in the grass. You can kind of nestle him in there wherever you want. And then decide if you want this leaf kind of over him like this, or if you want it kind of behind him like that. I think I like it behind him, so I'll put this one on my card front. There, isn't that cute? I mean, it's adorable just like this. So all you're doing with these grass and leaf pieces is you're just kind of creating the scene for him. And now all we have left to do is our sentiment. And I just realized I didn't grab my ribbon that I had underneath the sentiment, but that's okay. All right. So let's take the sentiment that says, Dad, you're the best. And we're going to stamp a little circle. And I'm going to use my black marker. So first I'm just going to ink up Dad. And you could cut this stamp apart too if you wanted. There's the Dad. And then I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to use the brush tip, and I'm going to color your first. And kind of center it underneath the Dad. And then clean it really, really good. You want it just nice and clean. Stamp, make sure you don't have any shadows. And then I'm going to stamp the vest. And again, if you wanted to cut your stamp apart, you could. And I'm going to center this underneath the your as best I can, because you can't see it because it's a red rubber, but it's pretty hard to, pretty easy to see. It's pretty hard to goof it up. So now I'm going to use, where did my dies go? Here they are. Once again, I'm going to use these everyday detail dies, and we have this really nice circle right here in the center. that works perfectly for. So I'm going to die cut this, and I'll grab a piece of my Post-it tape here, make sure I get it nice and centered. So that's not too hard there. And look at the cool sentiment that you now get. So you've taken that sentiment that was a horizontal sentiment and you've made more of a vertical element for your project. And I'm just going to put that on with dimensionals. Somehow I managed, there they are. They want to put over here. I'll add this to my card. Now on the other card, I added some garden green ribbon behind this, but we're just going to put this directly on our card here. And now I added the little sloth here, so you could add him or you could leave him off, but I think he's really cute added. So I'm going to take a little bit of Tombow. I know we're out of time. It goes so fast. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of Tombow on his head and his hands and feet, and just set that right there on my project. Actually, I probably need a dimensional underneath him to support him a little bit better. So let's do that. Yeah, that's better. All right. And then last but not least, let's take some of our gems, our opaque faceted gems that are one of our Sale-A-Bration choices. You could use the coral, would be really pretty. I chose to use the brown, and I just kind of added another little element. You could leave these off if you didn't want those on there. But there's our little card. What do you think? Do you like the little tiger? I thought these little animals were just so cute. And they're fun to make. They're fun to color. You could make them as simple or detailed as you want to. So here's our project today. We have our little toucan and we have our little tiger. So what do you think? Which one's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? Nobody has a favorite. Oh, thanks. I see some hearts. Thank you. Oh, Melissa likes the toucan. Thanks. I know, I love him. He's so cute. He just really comes to life in the bright colors, that little pop of bright color that you can get on there. Does anyone else have a favorite? All right, so if you're local to me, I'm going to be hosting my next class. It was supposed to be February 24th. I've had to move it because I had something come up that was beyond my control on the 24th. And we are going to be working with the Excellent Eggs bundle. So cute to make Easter cards. And there's going to be an optional add-on Easter Lily sampler, which is always so nice to set out for the holiday. And that is going to be on February 28th now at 6:30 p.m. So if you're local to me and would like to come, I'd love to have you join us. Now remember, Sale-A-Bration ends in just a couple short weeks. So we use several Sale-A-Bration choices today. We use Jungle Pals with the coordinating dies. These are 2 separate items. Your heartfelt hellos and our opaque faceted gems. So if you loved any of these, don't wait. Grab them while you can. Their wall supplies last, but for sure February 29th is the last day to get these. All you need to do is click on the blue Shop Now button at the top of my page here if you're following on Facebook, and jump into my online store, grab any of the items that you loved, and you're good to go to create. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, the links for the supplies are down below. You can click on any of those, and you can also get to my online store. And while you're there, please like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.